How come most startups fail, even when we have more tactics and strategies than ever before? Join the bedside chat of an entrepreneurial couple as they share what it takes to create a business with ease and in flow.
Hello everybody, here's Natasha and welcome back to another Biz in Flow bedside chat.
I'm Jachym, by the way.
By the way, I'm his wife, by the way, Natasha Crew. So, whoa.
Another day.
Friday night, we were social beings going to a concert.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Going to a picnic. Enjoying our last moments here in Switzerland and Zurich. I'm just being dramatic. We still have...
We have lots of time.
Like 6 months before we actually move away from here. But we are slowly enjoying where we are more and more.
Yep, absolutely. So, tell me, what did you learn?
Oh my goodness. Well, today we tried to discover new business opportunities. We spoke with someone, tried to look for ways to collaborate and things like that. Possible events we could do, and also possible content that we could bring her for her pre-existing products and services. So that was interesting. And I gotta say that it's interesting because it's in a different field, in a slightly different audience. And of course we are very much able to help them. But to tap into someone else's audience and to see how we can help, how we can even structure it, that's a very, very interesting process because it needs to make sense. It can't feel forced. So I like how the call was for exploration.
Yeah.
So that was pretty nice. And then again, we are working with our branding guy.
By the way, his name is John Scott. Check him out, John Scott.
And we've had so many calls with him. But at this point, we're really bringing in what I'm about, what you are about, and tying that together into a knot and seeing what that looks like for our business and getting to the essence of Biz and Flow and what we're here ultimately trying to create. And I like the session. There were some great insights that came along. More and more clarity. It became clearer and clearer to us that we're not just working with solopreneurs.
Yeah.
We are working with...
Well, I don't know what we're working with exactly. But what we are discovering is what is it that we're actually doing and what's naturally there. And one thing that is naturally there when you are regular podcast listeners, that we are just being us. What's naturally there is that we're comfortably in our own skin. There's no pretending. There's not much curation or anything going on. There's much more a free expression of us and sharing our thoughts and our journey. And so that's quite different than what's out there most of the time. Because what's out there most of the time is very curated and pretentious, and people trying to be something and trying to push that out. While us, it's just we're just us.
Yeah, and trying to be an expert in a way where you're almost like a know-it-all.
Yeah.
Like there's no question you can ask where they don't know the answer to. And when someone is kind of like that, it freaks me out a little bit. Especially when it doesn't just only come from personal experience. It comes from a very natural place of answering like, of course, that's my truth. That makes sense to me. That's almost like common sense to me. That I get. But, anyways, that's another story.
Well, there's the whole thing about pre-made answers and all of that.
Yes. So, okay, this reminds me, Jachym, of when I was in university, and for the first time, we were getting these legit office jobs, right? And then there was this career center, which really helped you to figure things out, ace your interviews, and there were lots of workshops as to how to do the right interview. So, for example, in an interview, if they ask you a question, do you have this skill, or have you ever dealt with such a situation? What you do, or actually, I think it's the question, the first one which I mentioned, which is, do you have this skill? So usually what they teach you to do is, okay, make sure you speak and answer this question in less than 3 minutes, no more than 3 minutes. Make sure you say when that was, what situation you were in, if there were other people, if you were working with a team, how you use that skill, what it contributed to, like what value you brought, how it went well, what you've learned, and you have to do all that in 3 minutes. So it's pretty much like that's the recipe for the perfect answer, right? And then at some point, though, in this kind of interview workshop, because everyone wants to do the best interview so that they can get the job that they all apply for, at some point the lady said, but please don't get too good at interviews. Then you are just the best interviewee, but they might not actually want the best interviewee, they want the best person for the job. Yeah. And at some point you're just perfecting all the right answers, and you're preparing so well to the point where they can ask you anything and you can pull out literally the best answer out of your ass, and it might not even come from your personal experience. You'll be practicing all these scenarios so well, you'll just make something up on the spot, and it'll sound natural because you've done it again and again and again in your head. But what are they getting? I mean, the poor employer, they get you. That reminds me of that kind of situation. Yeah.
And I think I just want to explore that whole branding session a bit more, because for me it was very impactful. Branding is something that's out there and people talk about it, but I don't think it's widely understood what it exactly is. And I am not necessarily an expert on branding. Actually, I'm not an expert on branding. It's not necessarily I'm not. Just from my experience from working with John Scott, having gone through the different exercises and all of that, it has become much more clear that there's a brand essence, and the brand essence is something that you can't really put your finger on it, because it consists of several components, but at the heart, in my view and my experience, is a feeling, really. Brand is a feeling that you're conveying to the people, and it's that essence that then can be put into different shapes and forms. So it can be put into your programs, into your writing, into your fonts that you're using, into your pictures, into how you communicate and all of that. But it comes back to being clear on what is actually your brand. And I don't know how clear this sounds to you, but for me it's become very clear. There really is an essence to what you're doing. Who are you being in this context? And yeah, I don't know. I don't have any better words to describe it.
I do.
Go ahead.
It's the core. It's the core, let's just call it, of the business. It's the core of the business. So what do I mean by that? What I envision when you say that is the seed. The seed of any plant, any tree. That seed doesn't take the form of the end product. The seed doesn't look like an apple. The seed doesn't look like the tree. It doesn't look like the bush. But it contains all the DNA. It contains all the information needed to let that organic process happen. It's all in there. It's very deceiving because it's so tiny and so compact. And only when you zoom in to such a nano level do you actually begin to notice, oh, there are chains of information within here that later just unfold by itself. It's all contained.
I love that metaphor of the seed.
You don't need to mess with it even. Just put it in the right place and help it grow. It grow. Give it life and help it grow. So in a way, every single idea, every single business, it does have this core element to it. It has a seed. And sometimes you don't need to show, sometimes the end product, maybe it's a tree, looks very much different than the original seed.
Yeah, it must look different because the seed is a feeling. It's
Yeah.
not. And then you have the different fruits and all of that take all kinds
Yeah.
of shapes and forms.
Yeah, exactly, and that's exactly it. What the end product becomes is something very powerful, very real, very, very solid, but it's a full expression of that tiny thing to begin with.
Yeah.
So that's how I would describe it in words, Jachym.
And I think you did a fantastic, fabulous job. I must say this. No, I'm
Stop it.
No, I'm serious. I'm not making fun of you. This is really, really spot on. It really is the seed, and because it's a seed, everything grows from it. And you can, but because this is a metaphor, we do certain things, and then we may get confused, or we may feel like this is not really fitting, and we can come back. Well, what's actually the essence? What's the seed? Does it align with that? And if it doesn't align with that, we can drop it. So, for example, our Instagram.
We had a pretty, at least for me, it's quite an emotional conversation.
Our Instagram feed is, to put it blunt, shit.
What? Really?
It looks beautiful. There's beautiful pictures. There's lots of work and thought that has gone into it. So that's not what I mean. However, it doesn't actually have the seed in it. It doesn't feel like it's aligned with us. There's certain parts of it that feel good. They're like, yeah, that's the beginning of, that kind of aligns a bit with us. But the majority of it feels like it's trying to be something, so people from Instagram are going to be happy, rather than us expressing what is there and putting that in, and then shaping it in a form that might be more appealing for the audience. But we kind of lost sight of that in Instagram. And so when we realize, actually, this feels very curated and staged and all of that, that's actually not really us. That's not the essence of what we want to bring into the world. That's really good to notice, because then we can drop that and we can change it. We can experiment and see what we can do that is more aligned with us, and yet at the same time still professional and still appealing.
Mm-hmm. I just had a bit of trouble. I wouldn't say accepting how you felt, because deep down I know it's very perfect. Might not be perfect for who we are and what we're trying to communicate, but it's a pretty friggin' perfect feed.
Yeah, exactly. It looks very nice, and there's lots of thought in it. Absolutely.
But that's the thing. It looks perfect for Instagram.
Yeah.
But what are we actually trying to achieve here?
Yeah.
It's kind of like, are we really going to a beauty pageant?
Exactly.
Or are we going to like the freak show where everyone wins? Right? Like that's kind of where we're going.
That's where, well, and it's just, but it's nice because we couldn't see that. Once we had the contrast between the podcast, where we are very natural, and us showing up on this podcast is how we are, and then looking at Instagram, we're like, wait a second, this just doesn't align.
And I also realized within the process, because I really am the manager of the business in a way. I'm very, very, very operational. And just dealing with that problem and realizing, okay, we gotta switch it up. Well, our content is scheduled until Sunday. What am I gonna do? How am I gonna prepare for the next week? A part of me just kind of started to freak out, because I felt like I didn't have this blueprint of what to do next. And at that moment, I didn't have the clarity as to, okay, how is it going to look? And what should I write about? And how is the feed going to look? And how are we going to prepare for that? Do we need to take photos and things like that? And it was hard for me, because I wasn't in this space, nor was it really the time to solve it. All the way. Yeah. Like when you have a certain problem, you can really get to the root of it, and when you've thoroughly dealt with an issue and it's done, it's dusted, you've moved on. But I knew that no matter what solution in the moment that I came up with, it wasn't the one that like really hits home, and I knew that we've pivoted fully to our natural expression, one that I felt good about. So that was really hard for me, even right now, because, you know, we're working together, we're taking a look at our branding. It's a process. It's a process.
Yeah.
And yes, we're getting closer and closer to the essence of the business, but there may be certain things on a very technical or operational level that doesn't quite take form yet.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So we might have a very strong feeling now of what business flow is, and it's getting clearer. It's as if we were actually confused before, and now that in some ways we've messed up, or that we've acted, you know, or created content that were, I just gotta say, slightly out of alignment. It wasn't like totally off the charts, but like it's very subtle for someone who might not be sensitive. They might not even see like why it doesn't feel like us, but we get it because we're like, I'm not sure if it represents me fully. I don't know why it's so much work, or it just feels not natural, right? So for us, we feel that, but right now it still hasn't taken form yet. We're still sitting with the feeling. The changes that we have recognized has come, and we're still discovering that, so that we can come from that depth, that deep place, and we're not rushing just to slap something on, right?
No, but it's a continuous kind of experiment and trying out and seeing what is our voice and how do we bring this feeling up into the world, and you know, in this case onto Instagram. But it's good to notice that what we've done so far, that's not it. That's not quite the right way of going about it, and so we can drop that and look at different ways of doing it that might be more aligning with us and with who we are. And actually, for me, as much as the branding session, yes, is about us, I don't see it as the seed being about biz in flow. The seed is us, and biz in flow is just one of those manifestations that we're creating together that contains the DNA and that takes a certain shape and form. But it's not, it goes, the essence and the seed, that goes much deeper than any business we are going to create.
Yeah, it's a fragment.
Yeah.
We're just taking a fragment of how we feel. I want to use the word wisdom. I know that for some people it might be a little bit like, oh, is that knowledge? What do you mean? Well, just hang in there with me. It's just a fraction of wisdom that's captured within the seed, but it just comes in the form of business flow. And I mean, what is business flow other than tiny, tiny, minuscule pieces of who we are, of what we do out in the world? Yes, ultimately we can wrap it up, we can contain it, we can categorize it, we can document it so it becomes a process, it becomes a system, it becomes a department, it becomes a team. But really, it's just little fragments of who we are and our actions and all of that, our ideas, our feelings coming into form. That's it. That's all it is.
That's it, yeah. And I mean, with Instagram, for me personally, there is a very big hole between the seed and the feeling of it and what we've put out so far, because the feed feels quite cold and impersonal, and here I feel we're very personable, we're very approachable, we are very relatable in a way, and that doesn't shine through in that area. So, you know, in whatever time you're listening to, you can scroll back down to the beginning of our Facebook, our Instagram history of our feed, and you can check it out and you can see how we've been doing it then, because by the time you might listen to this, you might have already found our voice much more. Who knows?
Or maybe not. So just
yeah.
follow us. Follow us on Instagram. Our handle is BizInFlow, and also on Facebook. You can find our Facebook page. Also BizInFlow. Search it in. Find us. Our little two heads are there waiting for you to be clicked. And I really encourage you to do this so you can see our evolution. We are literally documenting for you day by day everything that we've learned, the stumbles we have, the U-turn sometimes we have to take. Because literally, there are going to be posts I have created, things I've written down that's never going to see the world, because right now it just doesn't look like the world needs it, because we don't want to give it to the world anymore. So, you know, you're going to witness certain births and deaths within Business Flow, and it's going to be a beautiful thing if you're with us in real time, seeing how we evolve, because we're not making this up. We're just being as transparent as we possibly can so that we can take you with us and see what a business looks like. And this is, in a way, also what a business in flow looks like. It doesn't mean that we've hit a big boulder or we realize that we're going the wrong way and we can't turn back. Like, how many rivers do you know that go straight? Just like straight. None. Like rivers go where they need to go, and they're gonna turn and meander and slow down and widen, and that's what we're playing here.
Yeah. And I mean, I can really, really recommend to spend time, over a certain period of time, to actually investigate what it is that you're doing, why are you doing it, what is the essence of it. And I can recommend getting someone who can ask you questions, who is qualified to do this, because for us it's been really a great help to do that. And everything becomes so much easier when you actually know what you're about. Becomes so much easier to then make decisions, to then make alignments and corrections on the way, and see how it's evolving. And it's something that you revisit as you go along and you manifest, and maybe some of the essence may have changed to some degree, but actually because it's the essence, I don't think it really changes that much unless you personally evolve in some major way or something like that. But it gives you kind of a blueprint. That's why I love the seed analogy so much. It gives you a blueprint that is not necessarily in pictures and what to do next and all of that, but in a kind of a feeling way. And that is very, very powerful, because people who resonate with this feeling at some level, they're going to be attracted to you and what you do. And they cannot explain necessarily why that is, and that is the power of being aligned and having a good brand.
This is way more than any branding book or marketing book can ever give you guys. Like, I cannot even begin to explain to you how powerful this is. And we've seen it with other practitioners. Literally, someone who doesn't have a website, literally only has a phone number, lives in the middle of nowhere, and be completely booked like a full year in advance for years, and only have clients through word of mouth. Like, magical things like that absolutely happen. And it's really up to you to tap into yourself, who you are, your essence, and that is the magic. And that isn't something that's tactical, that's strategic. It's diving into your essence. So it's honestly inner work, but it's the biggest thing you can do for your business and for your brand, because it's going to be timeless, it's going to be powerful, and people are going to feel it. And you don't need to understand why. People don't need to understand why. But this is where your tribe will come to you. And with that blueprint, with the seed, everything will, I promise you, unfold at its own time. And it will come. When it's time to grow the friggin' leaf, it's going to come. You can't take spring away from a tree. The tree is going to grow its leaves, right? So it's going to do what it needs to, but first start off with that alignment and do that.
Absolutely. And be patient with yourself, because it may take some time to actually dig up all the things that you have been going through in life and that have shaped you, and your beliefs and your values and all of that. But man, I can tell you, it's really, really, really invaluable.
Yeah, it changes the whole game. I can't Can't explain. It just changes the whole game. It's much more than business. It's extremely powerful. So if you want a bit of help, or you want to find your own essence, and maybe you're like, what blueprint? Give me the seeds. Show me what the heck you're talking about. Well, if you're curious and you do want to figure it out for yourself, and you do resonate with what we're saying, then head over to bizandflow.com and then just click work with us and hop onto a free call with us. Really discover your true nature, discover all that you have to give, and trust me, you don't need to get it, you don't need to understand it. We'll help you along, and we'd be more than happy to do that through a complimentary call. So just head over to our website, and we'd love to meet you and to help you along.
Thank you for showing up tonight. Thank you for listening to us and engaging with us. Again, if you know anyone who could benefit from what we've shared today specifically, please share it. If you think there's someone who can benefit from a podcast, let them know. We like to create win-win-win situations where you get to benefit from recommending us, they get to benefit from listening to us, and we get to benefit from having a bigger following that we can really help along the way.
Yeah, and so win, 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 win. Win to the night, and we're off to bed to win some
some sleep.
Win us some sleep.
That's
so that
right.
the people coming to our workshop tomorrow can win the gains of our sleep.
That's right.
So have a good night, everybody. We'll talk to you tomorrow, and really listen to yourself. If you're feeling an urge to take action, then do it. Just listen to yourself, and it'll take you really, really far. Good night, and then we'll talk to you tomorrow.
Good night.
Bye.